Cooking involves a lot of technical terms that can really sound intimidating and overwhelming to the average home cook. And trust me, coming from a professional, they're not as difficult as you think. Hey everyone, my name is Neel. I'm the test kitchen manager at Haven's Kitchen Sauces, and in this video, you're going to learn some fancy cooking techniques broken down to their simplest form, which are going to empower you in becoming a much more confident cook. Simmering is just gently boiling. If you have a pot of soup or if you have a stock that's vigorously boiling, that's not simmering. Simmering genuinely refers to having a few bubbles in the pot. You can see the steam coming off from the liquid, but there are not vigorous bubbles that are boiling and jumping in that pot. It just means a very gentle simmer. I'm just going to show you. Slicing would literally mean one thing, where you're literally following the knife, you're following the shape of the vegetable you're cutting, you're using your bare claw. The speed will come, but if I had to slice my carrots, this is what it would be like. I have these thin discs, and that's slicing. I could also slice on the height. Essentially, just to show you that slicing would mean one cut. If I'm dicing something, as the word suggests, it's literally making a small dice of what you're doing. So it's not an exact dice, but for the recipe, when the recipe says dice, this is what they're kind of referring to. Before I talk about the next term, be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell icon to never miss an update from our Haven's Kitchen cooking channel and to keep watching such cool cooking videos. I see a lot of people zesting as if they're grating cheese. They just hold their zester and they go back and forth. That's not what you want to do. I've spoken about this so many times. What we want to do is zest the yellow stuff. So there are two ways of doing this. One, where you either follow the shape of what you're zesting and go along the surface, which means you don't go back and forth, but you go so I literally got only the yellow stuff. This is a sign of a good zest. If you zest and if you see the white stuff, that's absolutely wrong zesting and you really want to start all over again. Or the second thing, if this grip kind of feels unnatural to you, hold the lemon still and then zest around the lemon. Make sure you're zesting over a clean surface so that all you have to do is tap on your board, use a knife, use a flat surface, pick up all your zest. If you see the zest I have here, I don't have any of the white pith, so I know that whatever I'm going to perfume my food with the lemon zest is only going to smell of the lemons and not the bitter white pith. One of my favorite recipes for which I love the use or the addition of lemon zest would be the seared sole with the lemony butter, and the link for that is in the description below. Blanching essentially means putting your vegetables into boiling water for a couple of seconds, not more than a minute, and then immediately refreshing it under ice cold water to stop the cooking. The point of blanching something is not to cook something, it's just to make it tender, where it still has that bite, but it doesn't feel completely overcooked. So when the recipe says Julienne carrots or Julienne ginger, you want to have your vegetable look somewhat like a matchstick. That's it. The first thing you want to do for a Julienne is essentially have a size that you can work with. You don't want to have a long carrot, but it's going to be difficult for you to maneuver your knife. The next thing you want to do is get a flat side on. Once you have this, you don't have to worry about the carrot rolling over. The flat side is where it's going to rest. And then from there, you're going to take these ends off, which you can save, put them in a stock, or make matchsticks of also. And you're going to cut these planks. The goal here is to make them as even as possible. So, look at that. I think my chef would be pretty proud. So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them up. Once I have these stacked, that's what a julienne is. And to put it very simply, a julienne is a matchstick. The next term I'm going to talk about is a term that's going to completely change your life for whenever you're grilling, you're sauteing, you're searing, and that term is marinating. To put it very simply, marinating literally means taking the main hero of the dish, taking a bunch of spices, making either a dry rub or a wet rub with oil or yogurt or something, and letting your main hero of the dish sit and rest in those spices. This is going to do two things. One, it's going to tenderize the protein, or it's going to really tenderize and impart a lot of flavor into what you're cooking. The second thing you want to keep in mind is you really want to marinate for as long as possible. Yes, flash marination is great. You don't have a lot of time. You took your chicken breasts, marinated them in garlic powder, ginger powder, cumin, paprika, cayenne. You use our sauces to marinate stuff. Amazing. That's great. I feel genuinely with my experience that the best sort of marination happens is when you let the protein sit overnight in the fridge for more than 12 hours. That's when all the protein really soaks in the flavor of the marination, and when you can feel the protein be absolutely tender and flavorful. What a lot of people don't understand is braising is extremely simple. If I had to summarize what braising essentially means roasting and then stewing. You have a tough cut of meat and you don't want to cook it in the oven for too long, so what do? You essentially get some color on it, you get a sear on it, and then you let it slow stew in some sort of liquid, be it water, be it stock, be it just something in which the proteins are going to break down with the moisture. That's what braising is. I feel braising produces the most succulent and the most tender meat ever. But that being said, braising does not mean you can only braise tough cuts of meat. You can also braise vegetables. We have a fantastic recipe which is braised cabbage with coconut milk and tahini and chickpeas, where essentially what we're doing is we're taking our shallow braiser, getting it hot, getting some nice color on the cabbage, adding coconut milk, chickpeas, a turmeric tahini sauce, and just let it gently simmer and stew till the cabbage becomes nice and tender. This just goes to show that you don't need meat to braise, you can even braise your vegetables. The word sauté comes from the French word sauter, which means to jump, which means there's enough heat in the pan that when you add your vegetables and you toss, the vegetables should jump in the pan. So that's what sauteing means. So next time you have a pan on which is on high heat and you add your onions, what you want to do is you want to make sure that there's enough heat in the pan that when you toss your pan, the onions fly in the pan, because sauté literally means to jump. So it literally means cooking your vegetables at rapid heat, ensuring that they get some color on it while you're still adding more vegetable seasonings to those vegetables. The word searing literally comes from the sound of what happens when the food hits the pan. So a lot of times in all our cooking videos, you're always going to see me not add the protein or not add anything to the pan till the pan's not hot enough. And there's a reason for this. One, if you add your protein to a really cold pan or a pan that's not hot enough, the protein's going to go gray. That's just not tolerable. I just don't like that. I really like a good crust. I really enjoy a good sear on my protein or my vegetables. And that only happens because the pan's hot enough. The pan's hot enough, there's oil, and the vegetables, all the meat is going or getting laid in the pan away from you. That's what's going to make that sound. That's what's going to get that color, and that's what searing is. The next cooking term I'm going to talk about is a term that's taken TikTok and all the other social media worlds by storm. It's Hasselback. And I've done a Hasselback video in one of my videos where I make this fantastic Hasselback chicken with mozzarella, basil, and romesco. The link for that video is down in the description below. But just to simplify it, Hasselback literally means making thin slits in what you're cooking. One, it really helps cook the meat much faster. Second, it just means that suddenly there's more surface area for all the flavors to penetrate through and give more flavor. So I'm going to lay it and then So what's essentially happened is I've made the slit, but it's not gone all the way through. So that's what I'm going to do again. There you have it. So you have these things which look like slinkies, in my opinion. But what's going to happen now is when I try to marinate this with oil and chimichurri or any of our sauces, all the sauce is going to go all the way inside. So rather than the sauce or the flavoring just coating the outer layer of the carrot is almost going to be cooked all the way inside. Now that I've made these slits, I'm exposing more surface area of the carrot to the heat, which is just going to make this cook so much faster. If you want to practice these skills and put these cooking terminologies that I just explained to you to good use, we have so many recipes, and all our recipes are made with our delicious sauces, which are just going to teach you that you don't have to be a professional cook to know how to use these cooking terms in your daily cooking. You can just follow our recipes, use our sauces, and it's just going to enable you in becoming a much better cook, and you'll eventually realize that you've honed your cooking skills over time by using our recipes. Be sure to post your questions, comments in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always cook happy.